guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Tammy, and over here on this channel we do everything lifestyle, health, and beauty. And as you can tell from the title, today we're doing something a little different. This will be my first story time. In this story time, I am going to tell you guys the story of how I was pregnant for so long and didn't know it. So stay tuned and enjoy the video. So we're going to start off with getting this hair done and prepped. So today I am wearing my ombre blonde wig that I got from LuvmeHair. I've had this wig for a while. I do have a video on unboxing this wig, and so you can see it when I first got it. I'll place that video up here. Make sure you check that out. LuvmeHair is one of my favorite hair companies, and I do have a discount code. They have discounts all the time. Their wigs are definitely tried and true in my book. So let's get this bad boy on.
You change overnight. You are the sight. You magnify. You're only human, yes I know. It's okay to be unsure. I hope you know it's okay if you're not sure.
See, my days are cold without you, but I'm hurting while I'm with you. I know my heart can't take no more. I keep on running back to you. See, my days are cold without you, but I'm hurting while I'm with you. I know my heart can't take no more. I keep on running back to you. Baby, I don't know why you're treating me so bad. You said you love me, don't wanna love me, and I will slow you had. And all my heart is beating for you, I can't stop crying. I don't know how I allow you to treat me this way, and still I stay. See, my days are cold without you, but I'm hurting while I'm with you. And though my heart can't take no more, I keep on running back to you. See, my days are cold without you, but I'm hurting while I'm with you. And though my heart can't take no more, I keep on running back to you.
Okay, so I'm using my oldie but goodie Faithful Got to Be. So let's jump into this story time. So all of my life growing up, I have had irregular menstrual cycles. All my life. Ever since the time I first had my cycle. I started having my cycle when I was in middle school. I was 14 years old. and I had my cycle, and the next cycle didn't start until 3 months later. The first time it happened, my mom thought it was a fluke. So it happened again 3 months later. And then that following month, I didn't have a cycle. So she took me to the hospital then. And my doctor informed us that I had what was called an irregular cycle. So they recommend that I start taking birth control just to regulate it. And so I've been on birth control all my life since I've been 14 years old, in order for me to make sure that I have a cycle. So, leading up to adulthood, if I don't have birth control, then of course I won't have a cycle, right? After I had my first son, which was a while ago, 21 years ago today, actually. It will be 21 years sometime this year will be when I had my oldest son. So when I had my son, after I had him, not only did I had irregular cycles, but my hormones became unbalanced, and that threw my cycle off even more. I went through a phase in time after I had him, while he was still an infant, where my doctor had changed my birth control because my hormones were so imbalanced that at one point in time I had a menstrual cycle for 2 months straight. So for 60 days I did nothing but bleed. And so I had to have medication to stop the bleeding. And I went into the hospital, and because of so much blood loss, I became anemic. So that's how I am anemic today. I've never recovered from that. So from that incident, as I stated, I had to go to the hospital. They admitted me. I had lost so much blood. I was so weak I couldn't move. My husband had to physically pick me up out of the tub, because when you start losing blood like that, the blood just becomes thin and thin and thin, and nothing could stop the bleeding. I was bleeding so much, my house looked like a crime scene. I couldn't move. I was so weak. He picked me up, carried me, took me to the hospital. They admitted me, and that's when I received my first blood transfusion. So I had to get on a medication to stop me from bleeding. Then we had to go through this series where they had to try out different birth controls to figure out what birth control would now work with my body, because the original birth control that I've been on since I was a kid wasn't working anymore. So then I had to go through that phase. And guys, when I say I went through a lot of birth controls, I went through a lot of birth control. I was actually on the depot shot when I got pregnant with my son. So I knew that that wasn't a birth control that I wanted to go back on. I had to stick to birth control pills because so far they were tried and true for me. So we had to go through different birth controls to figure out which ones would work with my system and with my body. And during that time in my life, again, this was 21 years ago, I went through a series of, if I'm not mistaken back then, I think I went through 3 different types of birth control. So this was in a 3-month time frame to figure out which birth control physically worked for me. And then once we figured out which one worked for me, I just kind of stick with that. And it's been doing me great over the last 20 years. So it has been time where I stopped taking my birth control because I ran out, didn't refill the prescription, and I didn't think anything of it. You know, if I don't refill the prescription, if I don't take my birth control, then of course I won't have a cycle. But I can just pick it back up, and then boom, I'm back to it. right? So I did that, again, as I said, over the 20-year period. And never had any type of incidents or any slip-ups. It's just what it was. So for this incident, I was under a lot of stress. You guys know I've had VSG surgery, and that kind of, I'm just putting some light burl curls in this wig. I'm not doing too much because I'm not really, this is my Easter hair. I'm just literally going to church and being with my family, so it doesn't have to be like overly curled up. So I'm just taking large sections and doing some burl curls just for the time being. So I had VSG surgery 3 years ago, and I went on my weight loss journey. I went on my weight loss journey after I lost my mom to breast cancer. Losing my mom to breast cancer kind of scared the bejesus out of me, because my mom did not inform us to the end. Well, until her cancer had spread to the point where it was no return, that she was battling breast cancer. And she had informed us that she was battling breast cancer for years before we knew about it. But when me and my oldest brother were the first two that she told, and the way that she told us was by taking us to her physical cancer appointment with her doctor, and her doctor was like, yeah, your mom got breast cancer. And at that point it was stage 4. It was really aggressive because her hormones were very strong, and she was producing estrogen without even though she was hitting menopause, but her body was still producing estrogen, which leads to me, right? My hormones have been off balance all my life, so I guess it's hereditary and it runs in the family. So once, my mom, she went through her battle, and we thought we were at the end. We thought we was at the finishing line, and we actually got the bad diagnosis during the holidays. So holidays is always wonky for us in the wintertime, because we were literally celebrating Thanksgiving, and we're thinking that we're celebrating the part where my mom is about to go and have her, she's finished all her chemo, so we was having a great big celebration for Thanksgiving. And the beginning of the year, she was going to go in and have her double mastectomy, right? So we celebrating, having a great time. And then during Christmas time, my mom gets sent back to the hospital because the cancer is starting to spread again. So holidays is always kind of like bittersweet in my household. So back to my story. After I lost my mom to breast cancer, I got really scared about my health. I was overweight. I got really scared, and I really wanted to go on a real health kicker, because at that point I only had one child, and I knew I wanted to be healthy to live long for my son and my husband. I never wanted to put them in a situation where I was having health problems and they had to deal with it. So I went on a health journey. I wound up getting VSG surgery, and I lost over 100 pounds. So when I lost the weight, again, because my body was was changing, a life-altering change, again, it threw my hormones crazy, and my body just went into this real crazy wonky stage all over again. So it was like deja vu. I was having this crazy experience with my body and trying to figure out what's going on, what do I need to do, test, different products, try this, try that, and I just felt like I was an experiment. No one can ever tell me what actually is wrong with me, how to fix it. It's just, oh, you're a female, changes like this happen all the time. That's all I got. So again, get a different types of birth control, try it for a few months, get something that worked with me. Okay, great. Did it before, know the process. Throughout this time, I was admitted to the hospital again. Had to wanted to get another what they call a blood transfusion. At that point, I declined it. I did not want to have to go through that over again. I was kind of scared from the first one. I also felt like because I had that first one, again, my body changed, right? I've never had allergies a day in my life. I felt like after I had my first blood transfusion, I started having like seasonal allergies. I noticed different things that was happening with me that never happened before. Now, again, this could have been just because I was getting older. But I know in my heart that none of these things were happening until I had the first blood transfusion. And I do know that blood transfusions are much more, what they say, safer today than what they used to be. I 100% know that, believe it, and I'm not scared. I wasn't scared that, oh, I get blood transfusion and I'm going to get a STD or HIV or anything like that. That was not my scare factor. It was all of the other little small things that I just did not want to have to deal with. I started, again, like I said, I was having sinus infections every year from there. And I still have sinus issues nowadays. I never in my life had any problems, like that. So I always chucked it up to it coming from somebody else's blood being in my system. Because, of course, everything travels in your blood. So whatever somebody have, if it's in their blood, it's in their DNA, they just put that right into your system. So I refused it the second time. I didn't do it. At that point, at one time, I was so weak. I had went to the doctors and they would get blood. My blood was so thin that when I get finished giving blood, they would put the Band-Aid on my arm, but blood would just be running down my arm like water. That's how thin my blood was. And it used to be crazy. But my blood levels were so low, and my doctor, wanted me to come back because, of course, she wanted me to do the transfusion. But they were scared that my heart was going to be pumping too quickly, that I was going to have a heart attack because my heart was trying to fight against the blood flow to get the blood to flow to the proper organs. And my blood was too thin. So she had called me. She kept telling me, hey, come to the hospital. I want you to get admitted to the ER. And I kept lying, saying, oh, yeah, I'm coming. I'm going to come today. I'm going to come today. And she had called me one morning and was like, I'm sending an ambulance to your house to pick you up. So finally, my husband took me to the hospital, whatever, and I got admitted. But losing weight kind of did it all over again for me. And I went through life changes, and I had to figure out what is going to work, what can I do to just get my body regulated, and moving the way I need to be, right? And I got on a birth control. Then life shit happens, and we had to move. And when we were in the process of moving, all of my prescriptions and things were going to the pharmacy in my old neighborhood. So it was like clockwork. My prescriptions would get filled, and at that point in time, I was getting, because like I said, I had to take birth control constantly all the time. It was like a no-brainer. I had to take it. My doctor knew I had to take it. So my prescriptions she would give me like 3 months worth at a time, because she like, ain't no point in doing no month to month, because girl, you got to take this mess regardless. and my prescription had run out. I'm all the way across town. And, you know, they like, hey, come get your prescription. It's ready to be filled. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm going to get over there. I'm going to get over there. And I kept saying, I'm going to get over there. I'm going to get over there. I'm going to get over there. So then a month go by. I didn't take any birth control. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to get over there. I'm going to get over there. I'm going to get over there. And 2 months go by. No birth control. So mind you, during this time, I'm not having a cycle. But I'm not thinking anything of it that I'm not having a cycle, because that's just the normalcy for my body. And never once did I call my doctor to say, hey, can you have my prescription sent to a pharmacy on my side of town now because I moved. I just kept saying, I'm going to go get over there and get it. And in my head, whenever I get it, I'll start taking it again, and then everything will be back to normal. At this point, it's the summertime. I'm not worried about no birth control. I'm out here having fun. Me and Mr. Taylor, we're going on vacations. Our son had graduated from high school. He was on his way to the military. You know, we didn't have any responsibilities. So we're out here. We're just enjoying our summer, enjoying life. You know, just enjoying each other. So we just doing it up. Outings, date nights, stuff like that. And I think nothing of it. So we went on our final vacation the end of the summer, and I got super duper ill. I was sick out of my mind. But let me back up. You know how they always say men know your body better than you know your body? Well, apparently my husband definitely knew my body better than I do. Because throughout this whole process, for months on months, he kept telling me, every time I say, oh, I need to go get my birth control, he will always say, you don't need that birth control because you're pregnant. And I used to be like, why are you saying stupid stuff like that? I literally used to say those words to him. Why are you saying stupid stuff like that? And he used to always be like, oh, you pregnant, you about to have my baby. And I used to always be like, you crazy, I can't get pregnant. You know, my body, you know, is so wonky. I can't handle more kids, right? That would be my response to him. No babies coming out of here. And he will always say that. So now we on vacation. I get sick the first night there. I'm sick. I broke out in hives. I'm just like not good. So I'm thinking, oh, it's because we're out of the country that I'm sick. And he said, no, you sick because you're pregnant. And I'm looking at him like, here he go with the bullcrap all over again. There's no way I'm pregnant. That's just not the case. Like, get that out of your head. And I'm trying all these different creams, all this different stuff to kind of help me because I'm sick, right? That's all it is. I'm just sick. So, as soon as we get home from vacation, he states to me, you need to take a pregnancy test because I really 100% believe that you're pregnant. So I'm like, okay, whatever. Like, I'll take it because, you know, I already know what the outcome going to be. I'm not pregnant. And I take that first pregnancy test. And it came back positive. And I started freaking out. Because I'm like, how can this happen? Like, this can't happen. So I said, no, we need to take more. So we Mr. Taylor wind up going, and he went, you know, got me new tests, more tests. I wound up taking 5 pregnancy tests, guys. One of them only one came back inconclusive. So I scheduled an appointment with my doctor. I told her what was going on, that I think I was pregnant. She said, okay. She did the test at her office. She said, yeah, you're pregnant. And so she asked me when was the last time I had my cycle. And at that point, I was like, I really can't even tell you because you know how it is when I don't take birth control. And she was like, yeah. So she pulls out the sonogram. And she said, well, if you're in your first trimester, I won't be able to really hear anything because I'll just be able to hear heartbeat, but I won't be able to see anything. And I'll send you down for a scan. And she pulled out that wand and she was like, oh no, 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 your first trimester is definitely over with. This baby is definitely popping up. So I'm like freaking out, really, really freaking out, because I'm like, what do you mean? So she sends me down. We go, I went that same day, if I'm not mistaken, and got a sonogram. And the sonogram came back, and the people was like, you 4.5 months pregnant. Me and my husband just freaked out. Because at this point, they're telling us we're in the end of our trimester. I mean, we're in the end, going on of our second trimester, going into our third trimester. Now, when I start telling people, people was like, well, how didn't you know? Then you get any kind of sicknesses, like people have babies, they get morning sickness and things like that. And I told them no, because I, even with my first son, I had a perfect pregnancy. I didn't get any type of sicknesses with him. I had a great delivery. He came on his due date. I had a great delivery with him. My contractions was very light, and I didn't have any type of pregnancy stuff with my son. So I didn't have any with this baby. It was just like, I was regular. So that's why I didn't realize I was pregnant, because I didn't get sick. I didn't get tired. I didn't have any type of problems at all. And so when I found out I was pregnant, I was 4.5 months, going on 5 months pregnant. And it was very much a shocker. I didn't start having complications into my third trimester. Maybe it was because that's when I found out, but that's when I started having complications during the end part. And yeah, I was pregnant basically for 2 trimesters and didn't know, because it was always normal for me not to have a cycle. So guys, even though you know your body, and you feel like you know your body, if you have any of the problems that I had, regardless if you have a cycle or not, I definitely feel like you should get checked out and find out if you're pregnant monthly. So I go in 2 more weeks to get a IUD. But the first thing the doctor said is we definitely got to do a pregnancy test, because I haven't been on any birth control since I had my baby. And of course, so with that being said, remember I told you guys I do not have cycles, right? So you know how you have a baby and you just bleed because you have to get rid of all of that excess blood? Well, I didn't have anything. So I had her and did not have any bleeding. You know how because you store up 9 months worth of blood, so you gotta bleed after you have your baby. I didn't have that problem. I didn't have any bleeding, and I thought I was, because I was just pregnant. So I went on with all of these pads, like these large pads and all of that stuff. I spotted for a week, like just spotting. Like I just wore panty liners, and then it was nothing, because my body does not generate a cleaning if I don't take birth control. So I have not. My baby is 3 months old. I have not had a cycle in 3 months. So my doctor was like, when I come in for my IUD, she's going to have to give me another test, because it's a possibility that I could be pregnant again and not know it, because my body just do not have a cycle. So that's my story time. Let me finish this hairstyle. I want to get this front together, and then we can play with these curls and go from here.
Slum is the guy that thinks he's flying this, also known as a buster. Always talking about what he wants and just sits on his broken soul. No, I don't want your number, no. I don't wanna give you mine, and no, I don't wanna meet you nowhere, no. Don't want none of passenger side of his best friend's ride, trying to holler at me. I don't want no scrub. Scrub is a guy that can't get no love from me. Hanging out the passenger side of his best friend's ride, trying to holler at me. I don't want no scrub. Scrub is a guy that can't get no love from me. Hanging out the passenger side of his best friend's ride, trying to holler at me. I don't want no scrub. Scrub is a guy that can't get no love from me. Hanging out the passenger side of his best friend's ride, trying to holler at me.
Okay guys, so this is the finished look for the hair, and I did my makeup off camera. If you want to see this makeup look, just let me know down in the comments. But I hope you guys enjoyed my story time and how baby Taylor Tamia came about and now blessed us to be a part of the Taylor family. If you're new to this channel, guys, go ahead and subscribe and become a part of the family as well. And just, you know, we're all about life, family, and fun over here. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up. Let me know down in the comments if you have any crazy stories about just being a woman and the changes that we go through with our bodies. And I look forward to hearing from you guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.